All right, let's get into it. Chat, it's time to talk about the most controversial tweet in wrestling today. We're just talking about Samantha Irvin. We're just never going to sit back and enjoy, are we? And that's true. I get that. And that was originally to this tweet here saying, why do we need a bad blood host? This isn't WrestleMania or SummerSlam. I mean, if that's a big deal to you, it's a big deal to you. I'm not here to say like that's a silly thing to care about, because it's up to you. But this also gets people on the show, and I like when people get on the show and they can be paid for it. I don't know if that's exactly how WWE's pay structure still works, but it used to be if you're on the pay-per-views, you got some more money. Let them be on the pay-per-view. Let them be on the pay-per-view. Let's see. Hold on one second. Let me check my timer here. We're good. Hello. Dropping stuff everywhere. Okay, Samantha Irvin. This is the tweet here. Let me get it up so people can see it. It says, Samantha Irvin, the IWC knows how to book PLEs, secure sponsorships, delegate budgets, call matches, commentate, brand, and market, but they don't know how to enjoy a show. First of all, that's a hot tweet. I think that's exactly what the pro wrestling community does nowadays, is we spend so much time dissecting things that we're not really even enjoying it anymore. And trust me, I totally get the dissection of things. I'm a pro wrestling commentator. Like, I do this is a commentary on pro wrestling. I totally get that. But also, in the same vein, I have the ability in my brain to shut that off and say, I'm going to just enjoy some wrestling. And I don't think that everyone in the IWC has that ability. Now, having said that, I don't think I'm a special in any way, shape, or form from that. I just think that predominantly a lot of people want to talk about these other things. And I get it. Wanting to talk about the world that surrounds the subculture you're into, right? Whether it's wrestling, whether, as we talked about earlier, Magic the Gathering, whether it's movies. There are always going to be people who want to talk about things like how much money it makes and how popular things are and things of that nature. The problem is, in the IWC, we have allowed that to become the main thing that we talk about. I can't tell you how many times I've seen these chatters and these comments just talk about the most silly stuff. For example, we're talking about like how much money a company is making through live attendance, AEW in this case. I'm sorry, but I do not work at AEW, and I do not want to LARP like I work at AEW. I'll be honest with you, I don't friggin' care in the least bit if the stands are full. If it looks full on television, that's all that fundamentally matters. I'm watching this on television. You are watching this on television. The only reason we're talking about how empty the stands are is because someone takes a picture and puts it on Twitter. I'm sorry, but Twitter's not the real world. We're just having these stupid arguments about absolutely nothing. And I think these arguments are coming from a place of people wanting to justify their feelings on pro wrestling. If you don't like a particular company, you're saying these bad things so you can say, my thoughts on pro wrestling are right, and your thoughts on pro wrestling are wrong. It's your feeling on pro wrestling. It's an art form. Art is it's inherently subjective. What it means to you, how it speaks to you. But I've never once walked into like a museum or gone to an art exhibit and said like, okay, well, how much is this painting worth? How much money does this painting make? How many people are paying to come see this particular painting? I don't care. I don't care in the slightest, because I am not an art critic. I mean, not an art critic, but I'm not an art appraiser. I'm not making money off that art, just as you're not making money off professional wrestling. I mean, unless you have like WWE stock, and if you have WWE stock, like this should also not be your concern. This should not be your concern at all, because the money is like they're getting paid billions of dollars from Netflix. A lot of people like to just talk about things that they truly don't care about to try to, I would say, prove their feelings right. And they're your feelings. They don't have to be proved right. You can feel what you feel because you feel that way. And you can change your opinions based on other things, and that's fine. But to try to like have to explain yourself is just kind of crazy. And it's just I think it's another one of these instances of professional wrestling fans feeling scared about liking the things we like, so we have to defend them. I mean, that's how we grew up. We grew up defending the thing that we like, which is pro wrestling, from everybody who said you're a nerd from watching it. And I get that. But the only people having these conversations about this stuff, about ratings, key demos, and attendance, are people in the company, which if you are, you're probably having staff meetings and stuff like that about that. And that's fine. That's your job. That's your work. And the other half is pedantic internet wrestling dorks. You're not making money off this stuff. So just, if you want to have a chat about it, that's fine. Like I said, have the chat. Just don't make it predominantly every single discussion. And stop using like business metrics to try to prove that you're right about your feelings. It's just a weird thing to do. Schmitty in the chat saying, as fans, the only thing that can make should matter is the product. Is the match good? Are the promos good? Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Are you entertained by the thing you're watching for entertainment? Yes? Great. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters because you are entertained by your entertainment, which is why you're here. Which is another thing I don't understand is hate watching things. You're supposed to be watching things for your entertainment. You have a finite amount of time online. You're going to watch things that you don't like? Okay, I kind of get that. Sometimes I watch Jim Cornette, but I don't necessarily dislike. I dislike what he does, actually. But I also like to challenge my thoughts and beliefs on things. There are people out there who watch AEW or WWE so they can point out things that they don't like, so they can have conversations online. Like, such a weird way to build your community. Why don't you just go and be part of a community of something you enjoy? Just saying. But yes, this is kind of exactly the point. People always talk about the IWC, and we have bad conversations. Now, having said that, I do have to look at the other side of this. Tony Khan, who is just a member of the IWC, has done these things. And not saying, like, here's the thing. Tony Khan has no experience in the professional wrestling business other than watching it before starting AEW. He didn't run an indie promotion. He didn't write anything. He didn't book anything. Having said that, obviously the man is doing a halfway decent job. And now I know a lot of people are saying, what do you mean Tony Khan's doing a decent job? The ratings, the TV numbers. And you're kind of illustrating my point on why those things don't matter, because the people who pay to have AEW made, Warner Brothers Discovery, is willing to pay them allegedly $120 million a year to make television. You may not like it, but the people who have a financial stake in it are willing to pay that much money to have it made. It's probably good, right? If you care so much about the business metrics side of it, and then people who actually care about the business metrics, i.e. the business people, are willing to pay that amount of money, that should show you that your thoughts on how important certain aspects of it and why those are telltale signs that AEW is folding are wrong. I don't know what to tell you. If the people who are actually spending the money doing the thing are saying these numbers, like the people online are saying these numbers are bad, AEW is going out of business, but the people who have the checkbook, Warner Brothers Discovery, who have shareholders they have to report to, are going to say, that's fine. We'll give you twice the amount of money. Think of it as your job, right? Think of it like your job. If you go into your office and you tell your boss said, people saying you don't do your job well. You don't do your job well. But then your boss is like, hey man, I think you're doing a great job. We're going to double your pay. Are you going to listen to the people who are chirping at you all day saying your job, the work you do is bad? Or are you going to listen to the guy who is going to pay you twice as much and who actually sees your work, who actually gets to appraise you? I don't know. Probably going with the TV people over the internet fans. It's just crazy how much we go into these in-depth arguments and we say, well, this is why they're going out of business. They're failing. This is failing. This is bad. But like, wrestling's growing despite how many people want to say wrestling is failing, whether it's one company or another. It's AEW. That's what we're talking about. I don't know why I'm trying to do this both sides shit, and I'm so sick and tired of it. I'll just talk frankly. Something comes with doing this much live streaming and being in front of a camera, and that is like the realism of who I am and the things that I feel. I can't pretend for 3 to 4 hours a day that like I'm feeling a certain way, right? So here you go. The people who talk about AEW in a negative sense that they're going out of business fundamentally have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. They are dumb internet marks who have dumb internet mark thoughts, who have put time, effort, and energy into their beliefs. And when they're shown that those beliefs aren't real, i.e. getting paid more by the people who pay you, they just move the goalposts. And it's infuriating to see in wrestling. It's so stupid because you can easily just see, like, you can use your eyes. You can use your eyes and you can say, Okay, well, they must be doing good because they're willing to be paid more. Or you can bury your head in the sand and can keep trying to like live in your echo chamber for whatever reason. Are you that sensitive of a person that you're concerned that other people will think you don't know what you're talking about? So much so that you're willing to like, if you're wrong about like being wrong about it, they just hold on to it and they're like, I'm wrong about it, but no, I can't be wrong about it. You're wrong about it. Despite everything that's going on in the world, I will change my worldview to accurately reflect my feelings as opposed to just changing your feelings. Wrestling fans, what I'm asking, are we okay? How's everything at home? You doing okay? Do we need to talk about things? And that's okay if we do, because being a human being is pretty damn hard. But there's things we don't need to do to make it tougher. And one of those things to make it tougher is not changing your opinions when presented with new information. And that's all this is. I'm sorry, I talked about this at the beginning of the show today. If you've had, I did not feel so negatively about Vince McMahon at the beginning of like when I used to watch WWE, like when he was on there. But as time goes on, you learn new things and you realize that man is a bad man. You shouldn't see him. He shouldn't be on television at all, ever. We've learned. We've done different things. So why don't you do the same thing when it comes to any other thing in your life? You wouldn't sit here and say the world is flat. Okay, some of you would, right? Some of you would. When it's round, when we have proof that it's round, if you're denying the things that you can see with your own eyes, I'm worried about you. And I'm worried about a lot of the people in the professional wrestling business. And that's what I'm concerned about is the loudest voices in this space are usually the wrongest. And that's true. And I'm wrong about things all the time. I understand that. And when I'm proven wrong about things, I will change my opinion based on that new information. I just need other people to do that as well. Because if we're so disingenuous when we have new information come out that we're still like, nope, I don't believe it. It's a lie. It's false, fake news, whatever. We're going to keep having these issues. If we don't fix the the area around the IWC, it's going to be tough for us to have new fans who want to interact with professional wrestling. Because I'll be honest, when I get into something new now, I was like, okay, what's the culture surrounding this thing? And I look at the Reddits and I look at the social media around it because I want to know, like, what am I getting myself into? And if you look at the professional wrestling space and people are talking about quarter hours and key demos and ratings and t-shirt sales and stuff like that, like, that's not what anybody fell in love with wrestling for. No one has ever watched professional wrestling and seen, Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes having their match at WrestleMania this year, have the blow off for the final of that storyline. I don't think anybody was concerned about the amount of tickets that was being sold. At that time, you were immersed in pro wrestling. For that time, you remember what you fell in love with pro wrestling for was the drama, the action, the stories being told in the ring, stories being told outside the ring. And no one was worried about that. No one's worried about the amount of money. No one's worried about the gate. No one's worried about international merchandising and rights deals or anything, like just such annoying shit. But that's what the IWC continues to talk about. The IWC is not talking about how cool stuff is in wrestling, and wrestling is very cool right now. We're talking about numbers. And I'm sorry, if you want to have Dewey Decimal Point time with the Numbers Nerd Lounge, just do it somewhere else. I'm sorry, it permeates all of wrestling social media. And it's just annoying because, like Samantha's saying here, you know how to book, you know how to do sponsorships, you know how to delegate budgets, you know how to call match, you know how to do all this stuff, but you don't know how to enjoy wrestling anymore. And she's right. We don't know how to enjoy wrestling anymore. Every single thing is criticized, every nitpicky little thing that we can nitpick because we want to just be pedantic little wrestling nerds. And it's just so annoying. It's so frustrating to see the space around pro wrestling just be filled with like the most disingenuous takes, the most uninformed takes. And don't get me wrong, I don't know everything about the pro wrestling business. Not at all. It's insane to think anybody does. Pro wrestling is like any other art form, is constantly changing. Tastes are changing. Feelings are changing. So you can't know. It's an ever evolving art form. And the fact that we think that we know better is kind of dumb. Chat saying wrestling fans are cringe. They are, dude. Smitty, you're right. Wrestling fans are cringe, and I'm one of them. And trust me, I am self-aware to understand that live streaming at my own home in my living room on my days off is cringy. I'm sitting here talking about a television show on the internet. I get it. I'm a nerd. It's fine. But I'm not going to be a pedantic numbers nerd because that's too much. Math's not fun. I'm sorry, math and art are two different things. That's why you had two different subjects. That's why you had two different little colored notebooks and folders that corresponded with each other. It just doesn't make sense to me why we're focusing on numbers. Numbers are boring. Wrestling is cool. Why are we doing that? Let's see. Yeah, James is in the chat saying no one cares about that. Dude, no one. Yeah, I truly believe that you don't care about the ratings. I think I think a lot of people see the ratings and they just say, well, this is my time to like crap on AEW or complain about something or say that so-and-so doesn't know, Tony Khan doesn't know how to book. It's just, it's crazy, weird behavior. It is so odd. And that's the thing. I love wrestling and I love the wrestling community that we've made over here, whether it's here or on YouTube. I like the community, but there's so many more people that I think like we could just turn them down just a little bit, just turn it down. And then you would be a cool person to hang out with as well. But when you come in here and you talk about like the quarter hour key demo, the quarter hour was lower and the key demo was down 0.2. Get out of my face. I just don't care. Like, I can't imagine watching the Will Ospreay Kyle Fletcher watching Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher versus the Young Bucks at Grand Slam this weekend and seeing them do things in a tag match that I have not seen before, having an amazing match and watching that. And your first feeling and any feelings after watching that match was, well, I bet they didn't do a good 18-35 number. If that's you, if you're concerned about stuff like that, take a lap. Like, go outside, take a lap, recalibrate. Your mind is ruined. You need a minute because you're just a big dork. Let's see. James in the chat. I will get to that one about the PLEs in just a minute. I do want to talk about that. Obviously, I am a white guy, but as always, as a proud history of being white people, we always like to give our 2 cents on things that don't really pertain to us. But I'm going to try to do it a little bit more sensitively and try to give my take as a wrestling fan. And I agree with you. It's not exactly a good thing. Let's see. Yeah, people talking about buy rate. 777 in the chat's talking about buy rates. I don't care. Like, I just don't care. Like, I'm sorry, but like, here it is. Fundamentally, Tony Khan, the guy who is a billionaire, we're talking about AEW here. Tony Khan, who is a billionaire, first of all, hydrate. Chat, make sure you're hydrating. I don't care. If Tony Khan does not actively care about his attendance in his wrestling promotion, which is apparent, the tickets are still selling for what they are selling for. They're not really doing local advertisement. Most of the time when I find out AEW's in town, it's somebody in my group chat going, somebody want to go to AEW this week? I was like, yeah, dude, of course I do. If he's not spending time, effort, and energy on it, I would assume he does not care about it. He does not mind it being what it is because, and this is a feeling here, and this is using, I would say, a little bit of logic. If I can make $100,000 off a wrestling gate, that's cool. $100,000 is cool. But keep in mind, they're not making $100,000 a TV show filming. It's not happening. But also, my first and foremost priority is going to be the television production because most of the money for AEW being run comes from television production. That's the thing I don't think a lot of people realize about pro wrestling in the modern age. It's all about the TV rights deal. Same thing with sports nowadays. Most of the money coming in from like NFL and stuff are these television rights deal. That's why the NBA going from Amazon to TBS has been big news in that world because it is an awful lot of money. We're talking billions of dollars for a year of television. Most of your money, if it's coming from television now, that's where you're going to spend most of your time, effort, and energy. Let's see. Oh, that's an interesting take, Jay Bark. Jay Bark says, "Are the EVPs really just a copycat of the Outsiders with much less heat?" In the same sense that they both use vintage wrestling as like an aesthetic. Yes. Kind of. I don't think so, right? The only similarity is they both like old school wrestling, old 90s, 80s wrestling as like a gimmick. But the Outrunners don't really have like any stroke or power for the roster. No, I like that. Okay, let's see. Wish Tony was a bit more connect. If I was Tony, I'd be a bit concerned with the Jags at the moment. Yeah, did they win or lose yesterday? I know they've been having problems. Fulham, yeah, at least Fulham's doing well. Yeah, my I play FIFA, or not FIFA, it was FC 25 or whatever on my ROG Ally. I ended up getting my contract ended up getting sold over to Fulham, so I'm gonna take Fulham to a Premier League title. Going to Raw. Raw's in Tennessee tonight? Yeah, Raw's in Tennessee. Roman, you said you're going to SmackDown. Where in Tennessee? Is it in Memphis? Oh, the Jags are 0-4. Whoops. Oh no, T-Law is on Fraud Watch. Oh no. That's not a day.